What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? It is Weird Gaming Adventure Gospel Edition once again, and today we have Tuesday Newsday. As usual, every Tuesday, Conquest of Azeroth news, the patches that have happened in the past week. Some pretty big changes this week, so let's just hop into it. All right, starting with Barbarian Barb. Crushing Slam cooldown reduces to 7 seconds down from 10. Ancestral Might is now a self-only buff, but increases your attack power by 60% of your agility, up from 40%. Total energy increased to 130, which this seems actually like a pretty big buff. Updated visual of Barbaric Whirl. Wrecker now requires you to face your target. Barbaric Strike now requires you to face your target. Cultist added a new passive to Corruption Spectre that gives Psychic Wrath a chance to proc a Stack of Madness. The effect from Visions of Doom that slows and increases gaze damage. I think that's Visions of Doom, VOD. I haven't leveled up a Cultist yet, so I don't really know. Edict of Gluttony now works off of flat chance against instead of procs per minute, but is limited to 25 charges. Bend Will is now a 15-second base duration and a 1.5-minute cooldown. It also causes the target to pulse shadow energy periodically for the duration, dealing damage to nearby enemies based on charmed target spell power. Whisper now correctly applies the debuff to the target, and the tooltip has been updated to reflect that it only affects shadow healing. Horrorbolt now requires you to face your target. Chronomancer fixed a tooltip issue with Unearth. Feast of Aeons now increases healing power based on spirit as well as its previous effect. Remake is now a chaos spell, making it a spammable order generator for phase 3. That's interesting. They keep talking about phase 3 in this in these patch notes, as you'll notice, and I think they might be preparing for phase 3 soon. Who knows? We'll see. Removed mana cost of Sandblast. Fortify Timeline's cooldown reduction effect is now triggered from periodic damage as well as healing. Chrono Beam now requires you to face your target. Sandblast now requires you to face your target. Demon Hunter, Glaive Rush visual reverted to the old one. Demonic Advance now has the same activation visual as Glaive Rush, the green pillar. Ranger modified the strategy spell in the archery tree to interact with new archery points instead of combo points. Ranger gave Falcon Mark in the archery a completely new effect unrelated to combo points or archery points. Reaper, Underwalk no longer forces you to blink forward, and you instead gain the shift ability to use an Underwalk that performs the same effect. Added a new visual effect for Reap. Now this is a screenshot from the Discord. This was posted by Liquid Outer Space. I just wanted to throw this in here. Even though it was in the changelog, it's not really a patch note, obviously, but it says, please vote, should Reaper be a strength class? And I voted yes, just because I felt like there weren't enough strength classes. Like, most of the physical DPS I can think of right now are, they're basically agility based. So I was thinking, yeah, well, why not have another strength class, right? So, so with that, I just wanted to point out that buying into the alpha and playing the alpha, you actually get a say in its development. Like they really do listen to the players. A lot of players' issues have been addressed and continue to be addressed, and it's actually really, really excellent because you don't really see that a whole lot from development studios from anywhere. And so I was just really impressed by that, so I want to throw in the video. Soul Infusion can no longer be canceled. Shift ability, Underwalk Blink, is now learned at level 22. Murder has been updated at all ranks to have the correct tooltip and cost the correct amount of health. Guardian, Tinker Shots should now proc Raise Shield's Inspiration Generator. Raise Shield should now proc from all attacks. Tendon Slash will now work at all ranks. Warquake's initial damage no longer only works on targets in front of you. No notes for Monk. Primalist, wild combat abilities are now actives that must be applied, but lasts until canceled or weapon is swapped. Boosted base values and spell power scaling of Stonefall. Boosted spell power scaling of Hand of the Earth Mother and level scaling slightly. Dream now requires you to face your target. Ruptured Earth now requires you to face your target. Pyromancer. Now, if you watch my Pyromancer video on on the my Pyromancer video. These changes, most of these changes already gone to effect, so these won't be too much different from what you saw in my Pyromancer video. Added a new passive to Incineration Spectre. Flames of the Firelord no longer roots you in place and has an epic new visual. Flamecaster's Wrath now boosts crit chance instead of spell haste based on int. Removed Melt, Burst, Burning, Command, and Burning Spheres from the core kit and reordered a bunch of spells. The goal here is to hone in on 2 specific playstyles, Ignite / Slagstone or Fang / Breath, which I also pointed out in my video. Boosted chance to proc Slag Shaping for instant Slagstone by 5%. Boosted base damage of Slagstone and increased the chance you can proc its stun effect by 10%. Scorching Ray stacks now give 3% fire crit per stack. Added a new passive to the spec tree that makes your Scorching Ray strike all enemies within 8 yards of the target while you have 4 stacks of the effect. Flame Step now has a 40-second cooldown, down from 1 minute, and the duration that you lay the Path of Flames after the cast is increased to 3 seconds, up from 1 second. Reduced size of Slagstone's visual by about 60%. Burst now requires you to face your target. Rune Master. Lot of Rune Master changes, I think. This in Stormbringer. Fixed a bug where shards were not actually generating from their perspective aces. Probably. I do like the probably Liquid threw in there. Like, we think we fixed it, maybe, but it's good that there's clarity and honesty there, right? Fixed a bug where Primordial Blast would remove the stack rules for Essence's buff to the target for the duration of Sunshine instead of doubling its tick rate and having its duration. Trying another fix for Spell Wrath / Thaumaturge, canceling their casts. Fixed an issue where Shard of Conflagration would apply its debuff to the caster instead of the target. Added a larger delay to the shard launching from Primordial Blast so you can better see the shards. Also changed the color of the shards, but this will not be visible until the next patch, which, we get already. And made the missile effects have different speeds depending on color. Spell Wrath can now correctly pull Ace of Magic from the Deck of Wonders, which generates the Shard of Arcana. Rune of Power is now interruptible and obeys silence. Open Riftgate is now interruptible and obeys silence. Iceblade can now be queued regardless of if you're facing your target. Thaumaturgy now requires you to face your target. Riftgate Transfer now has a mana cost. Riftgate Transfer is no longer usable while silenced. Tinker, Sapper Charge Explosion can no longer miss. Big buff to this Tinker right there, because my Sapper Charge did in fact miss quite a few times when I was playing the Tinker. So this is a nice buff. Witch Doctor got a bunch of changes, so we're going to go over Witch Doctor here. Okay, you guys ready? Breathe. You can do it. Added new visual effect for Gift of the Loa. Replace Nourishing Wave and Skill Tree with Revitalize, which has a similar effect, but affects all allies within 40 yards. Also gave it a new visual effect. The combo point mechanic in the Shadow Hunting Tree has been replaced by Shadow Marks, which work similarly, but deal shadow damage based on agility when applied and allow you to see the target through stealth while active. They are also not limited at 1 target at a time. Added a new passive to Shadow Hunting Spectre that allows you to play a sort of ranged bow hybrid. Replaced Hex with Hex of Shrinking and Core Kit. Working on a rework for Bond Somdi Invocations. No info yet, though. Y'all got Panther Killing Spree now. And this says transform into a Panther for $D. For the duration, you will pounce upon a random nearby enemy for $T 1 second, raking them with your claws for $804623s 1% damage weapon damage. The ability is only usable while Bethek is fully invoked. Instead of casting Gift of the Loa on affected allies, Army of the Loa now actually transforms all affected allies into avatars of your current Loa for 20 seconds, granting a different bonus based on the Loa. Also actually transforms them into a bat, panther man, zombie, snake man for the duration. Gift of the Loa can now target allies or enemies and will perform a different effect based on your current Loa. Its cooldown is also reduced to 12 seconds, and it requires a fully invoked Loa to use. Consumes all invocation stacks on use. Added new spell to Voodoo Tree, Dance of the Loa, where you will dance for 5 seconds, healing all allies within 40 yards every second, and give them your Loa appeasement effect, similar to original Gift of the Loa implementation, but AoE. Reintroduced a base heal to Gift of the Loa and removed the requirement for casting to be 5 stacks. Now you can cast it below 5, but the bonus effects only trigger at 5. Curse of Harik, see above, lasts 15 seconds and now reduces the target's total stats based on your intellect instead of reducing move speed. So we got Gift of the Loa, 21 mana, 40-yard range, instant cast, 12-second cooldown. Make a prayer to your Loa, healing an ally for 55 to 58 or yourself if you target an enemy. This spell can target allies or enemies. If you have a fully invoked Loa, consume the invocation stacks to perform a bonus effect. Seratus, heal your target for an additional 124 to 157. Harik, curses the target, increases the periodic damage they take from shadow damage over time effects by 50 to 49% for until cancelled, and reducing their movement speed by 8% for the duration. Bethek deals 300% weapon damage to your target and increases your melee attack speed by 40% for until cancelled, and Bonsamdi deals 14 to 15 shadow damage to nearby enemies and stuns them for until cancelled. That's pretty crazy. The transforms from Army of the Loas now last for the same duration as Army of the Loa's primary effect. Updated the tooltip of Army of the Loa to accurately reflect the effect of each Loa's transform effect. Curse of Harik, this is funny. Curse of Harik now increases periodic damage taken by 50% instead of dealing 50% HP as periodic damage. That's hilarious. It was just ticking away. 2 ticks, oh, I'm dead. Whoops. Curse of Harik now reduces attack power and spell power based on caster's intellect instead of all stats. Witch Hunter reintroduced the inability to perform melee auto attacks with dual crossbows equipped. Fixed an issue where Draining Bolt was double dipping on stat scaling. Draining Bolt can now only affect one target at a time. Weapon Swap now removes the Coiling Shot buff. Reduce the weapon damage of Coiling Shot, Punishing Bolt, Crippling Bolt, and Night Venom Bolt, but added pure physical damage effects to them, scaling with ranged attack power. Wow, I'm really irritated. At some point, I was like reading off the whole patch notes, and at some point, OBS stopped recording. So, we're doing 50% of this thing again. I'm so sorry. Added spell power scaling to Vampiric Blade, and Vampiric Blade is now a True Leech. Heals equal to damage dealt. Dawn Blade now deals 200% weapon damage, but scales with range attack power. Saber Slash now scales with range attack power. Necromancer. Putrefy now requires you to face your target. Flesh to Worms no longer falls off on targets that move out of line of sight. Accurate Aegis now loses charges from any form of damage. Venomancer. Escalate will no longer reduce the duration of vigil to 20 seconds in any case where the duration was above 50 seconds. Added ground targeted Poison Cloud AoE dot to Venom Spectre. And Venom's tooltip has been updated to reflect that the proc is different from Venomancer's spammable ability. Dark Berry of Shadra will now correctly reduce the duration of Shadra's Vigil and will not reset it down to its original duration when above 50 seconds. Paralyze now has a halved base duration but gains double duration from stealth. Paralyze is now considered a poison effect. And Venom now applies to all allies instead of one target and no longer requires you to face your target. Regeneration's radius is now centered on your target and will affect all allies instead of all party members. Scorpion form and spider form now have their own stance bars. Now we got Sun Cleric. Sun Cleric had quite a few changes. Fixed tooltip of Purge to accurately reflect rage regeneration per target. Prayer of the Sands answered prayer effect for Sunshine now grants a damage reduction. Added a new visual effect to the sunset phase effect. Solar power now decays at a rate of 2 per second when in sunset. Vigil of the Sands base values reduced. Spell power scaling increased. The solar apex ability in the skill tree has been changed to now instantly grant 20 solar power and 40% spell haste for 10 seconds. It is also only usable during the sunset solar power decay phase. Added 6 new passives to Sun Cleric's Piety Spectre. Purging Flames, dot from Purge, now correctly deals fire damage. Updated tooltip of Faith to describe how it scales. It is not currently possible to display the real amount on the tooltip. Blightbreaker can no longer miss. Sunset now decays solar power by 1 twice instead of by 2 once, so you can't cheat it. Starcaller also got a lot of changes, so here we go. Celestial Aegis now makes you immune to interrupt effects instead of power burn effects. In addition, its total charges has been reduced to 12, but charges are no longer consumed from periodic damage effects, and there's a 1-second internal cooldown between charges being removed. Aspect of the Cosmos will now display its mana in the combat log. Tinker shots should now remove Celestial Aegis charges. Moonblade and Starfire shots should now be usable at all times when you have enough mana. Star Sunder is now only usable while at or above 10% mana. Tidal Rebirth is now in a 5-second cast battle res with a 20-minute cooldown. Celestial Aegis should now lose charges from all attacks. Spell Choke no longer costs rage and no longer requires a shield. Increased mana cost of Soothing Splash and Torrent. Added a new passive to Tides called Crystal Vial, which reduces the cost of your Tide spells by 20% and boosts all Frost and Arcane healing done to you by 8%. Celestial Cleave will now correctly reduce the cooldown of Lunar Shock. Celestial Aegis no longer has charges, but each time you take damage from a non-periodic effect, same trigger as before, 2 seconds of the duration is removed. It now makes you immune to Dispel effects instead of Power Burn effects. Added a 1-second internal cooldown to Celestial Aegis. Knight of Zoroth. Fixed tooltip of Fiery Retribution passive from Defiant Spectre. Flesh Hook now requires you to face your target. Updated tooltip of Meatsaw. Stormbringer. Now we got a lot of changes for Stormbringer. Whew, let me breathe. Give me a second, guys. This is a race. Arm of Thorum will now generate static even if it kills the target. Reduced static scaling of Call Lightning. Improved damage of Arm of Thorum. Call Lightning and Arm of Thorum should now show their visual even if they kill the target. Vortex is now a true instant cast and can be used while moving. Dealing nature damage has a chance to proc Lightning Rod, stacking up to 3 times. Lightning Rod makes your next Crackling Surge instant, have no cooldown, and generate no static. Each use removes 1 stack. Static is now drained at a rate of 3 every 2 seconds instead of 5 every 3 seconds. Fixed a bug where Crackling Surge would get a massive cooldown after its first use. Added a few new spells to Lightning Spectre. Fixed a bug where Conjure Storm and Mystic Thunder would have no cooldown under certain circumstances. Crackling Surge now generates 10 static while under the effects of Lightning Rod. Lord of Lightning now prevents Crackling Surge from generating static while it is active. This should help promote the playstyle of balancing high static. Lightning Rod now correctly makes Crackling Surge instant. Crackling Surge now correctly generates half static while Lightning Rod is active. Arm of Thorum icon updated. Arm of Thorum now correctly hits multiple targets from Fist of the Gods. Updated icon of Thorum's Fury. Arm of Thorum now has 8 max targets, and Fist of the Gods now instead increases the radius of this effect instead of increasing the max targets. Conjure Storm now has a 2-second cast time, but its cooldown is reduced to 16 seconds, and its mana cost is reduced by around 35 to 40%. Conjure Storm now strikes the target with a specific bolt of lightning from above when it deals damage. Son of Arugal. Renamed Rip to Grimclaw. Added some new spells to Ferocity Tree that interact with Grimclaw. Added a new damage cooldown to Ferocity. Phase 3. There's that Phase 3 popping up again. It's looking like Phase 3 is being prepared. Increased spell power scaling of Dark Liturgy. Phase 3. Bloodthorns will now affect all nearby allies and last 30 minutes. Now here's the all stuff. Rewind tooltip adjusted to explain that it is learned whenever a Chronomancer uses infinite clone on you, regardless of your class. Reap souls from Reaper, Solar Power from Sun Cleric, and Sanity from Cultist, Archery points from Ranger are now specifically flagged for removal when entering Arena. Added new functionality for COA classes to have their own stat scaling effects with the primary stats. The first thing I am doing with this is to increase attack power / range attack power from agility by a further amount. I still believe it should be weaker than strength, though as always open to feedback, but it is probably a bit weaker than it should be. So this is from Liquid. He was just talking about when you pick your main stat, special scaling depending on class, I guess. Did a massive reordering of spec trees for every class. This will be visible at next restart and may be mostly accurate, but it is still subject to change. Removed all non-core spells from classes. This includes Auto Shot from Witch Hunter. Normalize the power of all stealths to be closer to Rogue Stealth and the same for each class. Fixed an issue where players could not whisper until level 10. You may now equip items once again. There was a bug for like a night, like 12 hours, where you couldn't equip anything. So I accidentally unequipped my gloves during that time, and I paid for it. Anyways, that was this week's Tuesday Newsday. Tune in again next week for the next Tuesday Newsday. Who knows what we're getting in the future? It looks like they're really cleaning up a lot of these classes and shaping them up and getting their core kits very well developed, fixing a lot of bugs, which is great. I love to see that. I love to see the activity in the Discord. I love the fact that the devs take actual feedback from the players. I haven't actually offered too much feedback myself. I do ask questions from now and again, but I really like to feel a lot of the classes. So it's just been going really, really, really well. Anyways, I hope you guys are having a good day wherever you're at, or maybe you're having a night. Maybe it's nighttime for you. Maybe it's morning. Maybe it's afternoon. Anyways, I hope you're having a good time, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.